Guys, if you know my channel, you know that I hate clickbait. I don't do that kind of crap. I don't make thumbnails with like shocked expressions on my face, but I have done it now. This is a clickbait video. I'm so sorry. But I've done it for a very specific reason, to prove a point. Rolex, of course, are not going bankrupt. However, if you were to listen to certain YouTubers out there, you might think that they were. And I think it's all bullshit, and I am here to drop a thermonuclear bomb in their lap. Cool? Cool.
I'd like you to tell me that you were a false prophet, and that God is a superstition.
So for a couple of months now, there's been a little bit of disagreeing between watch YouTubers about what's happening in the market. A lot of people think there's some crazy crash happening. I've been saying it's nothing of the sort. It's just coming off a weird spike that happened at the beginning of this year. A crazy anomaly where all the prices just went flying up because of some kind of mania on the market. We just came off that spike, and we've picked up from exactly where we left off before it. That's all really that's happening. However, a lot of people are saying the Rolex bubble has burst. Absolutely has not, in any way, shape or form. Some people are saying we're going back to pre-COVID prices. Pre-COVID? That's, you mean 2019, because that's when COVID starts. The prices are going back to 2019 prices.
You lost your fucking mind.
I can get a Hulk for 11 grand. I don't think that's ever happening. But there's been a few particularly egregious videos about this, and one just came out the other day from my great friend Brittany Pearce. Great channel, love her to bits. We're good friends, and I hate to do this, but it's like she leaves me no choice.
Don't make me do it!
I think that this video is misleading and fear-mongering and probably just clickbait. Sorry to say. So I'm going to do a reaction. I have her permission, by the way, and hopefully we can have a laugh about it, but hopefully I can set a few things straight. We can agree to disagree. If you don't believe what I say is right and you agree more with Brittany, that's great. You don't need to leave it in the comments. However, I know you will. Here's my reaction to her video.
So I didn't want to make this video. I don't want to become known as one of the watches or investments kind of YouTubers. If you follow my channel, you know I'm a watch collector. I absolutely love watches. And I have a few watches that have a pretty good secondary market value. I also have a few watches that do not have a good secondary market value. I just love the watches that I love. I don't collect watches with the assumption that they will accrue value. So I don't want to become the watches and finances girl.
First off, not many people collect watches because they're going to increase in value. Most people who are into watches collect because they like them. The added bonus that they may at least hold their value is a nice padding to have in there. It's like art.
But I've seen a few videos floating around giving advice about the state of the watch market and if you should buy secondary watches right now. And the advice being given is probably not what I would say. I'm sitting here watching these videos, listening to the advice that's being given and thinking, this is the exact opposite of what I would be telling people to do. This is the exact opposite of what I'm going to be doing in my life. Do not buy the dip. Don't buy a grey market Rolex right now. And please, don't fall into this sucker's rally. Right, guys, I really don't want to make this video.
Then don't.
But here we go. The watch market is small, concentrated, and the value of wristwatches are largely subjective, which theoretically makes it a very volatile market. Secondary watch prices have been absolutely insane on certain models. Anyone who is into watches will already know certain desirable models like the Patek Philippe Nautilus, the AP Royal Oak, and a handful of coveted Rolex watches have been in a massive speculative asset bubble. Over the past few weeks, as we enter into an economic recession, we have seen a softening or secondary price correction on these previously sky-high prices.
Yes, previously there was a spike. If you look at all the watches, they were steadily going up in value as the watch market built up and watches became, expensive luxury watches became more and more popular. But then we had this bizarre spike at the beginning of this year, end of last year, beginning of this year. There was a crazy spike where everything just went nuts. They had no business going up to those prices that quickly, and of course that could never truly sustain. So now it's just kind of come off of that spike. It's bounced back down off that spike, and we've picked up from where we were pre-spike. Some people disagree with that. They say, no, it's actually the beginning of a terrible, huge crash.
The ice is gonna break!
How they know this, how they can predict the future, I have no idea.
These watches are still trading way over retail. To call it a correction even feels a bit generous. They just aren't trading for their March-April prices. We are currently at the beginning of a global recession. It's the very beginning, so we haven't felt the full wrath of it yet. But in the next 12 months...
Hold on.
Not only can you see the future, I can change it.
It's thought that we're heading into a recession. We don't know for sure if we're heading into a recession. A lot of people would say yes. How severe it's going to be is all speculation, and which kind of things are going to be affected and not is also speculative. I don't like words like wrath. Oh, shit. The wrath. It's very, it's kind of biblical. I wonder where she learned that.
For my church.
We are really going to feel the effects of it. We're beginning to feel it here in the UK with the cost of living crisis.
Listen. The UK is feeling things way more than everyone else, but there are other reasons for that. A big one is called Brexit. There's no deal in sight with the US. Doors they had very widely open before are now closed, and everybody's feeling the effects of that. That combined with what's going on globally and so on with the markets, they're getting hit harder in Britain. So her experience is not the experience for everyone. Not exactly.
The Fed, so the Federal Reserve, and Papa Jerome Powell have come out saying, hey, the stock market has had a pretty crappy 2022. Obviously, we know that, and we've been in a really volatile year. So to get control over the inflation that we're experiencing, the Fed is going to tighten more. We're going into a recession that kind of feels a bit unknown. The future just feels really uncertain.
The future's been uncertain for years, for 2.5 years now. We're just coming out of, hopefully, a global health crisis. No one was expecting watches and luxury items to go up in value when people were all cowering in their homes, afraid of dying from a strange virus they didn't understand. The future's been uncertain for a long time. That doesn't mean that the markets are going to be affected, certainly not watches. We've seen that, but nobody predicted that, by the way.
And I'm not saying this to fear-monger and create panic, but this is just what many economists are saying.
You're creating fear and panic. You're fear-mongering. That's what you're doing. You may not be doing it to fear-monger, but the effect of what you're doing is essentially fear-mongering, yes.
And what a lot of the data points to. But of course, none of us has a crystal ball. None of us knows what the future holds.
Finally, we agree.
But I am not an economics channel. I am a watch channel. And I'm going to tell you something that makes no sense for me to say as a watch channel. But I truly don't think you should buy the dip in the watch market. And there are 4 big reasons why I wouldn't encourage you to do this. 1, watches are not asset investments and should not be seen as such. 2, this advice only holds water for millionaires, in my opinion. 3, I would never recommend people buy watches over the retail price. And 4, I believe a sucker's rally is on the way.
Daniel, you're on a very bad path. Is that so?
Watches are not assets.
Yes, they are. Watches, guys, watches are assets. They are, of course they're assets. They're like art. It's like buying a Rembrandt or buying a Toulouse-Lautrec. If you have a $10,000 watch on your wrist or a $100,000 Patek, you think that's not an asset? That's absolutely an asset. It's worth a shitload of money and you possess it, and it's a hard item, just like any other asset. Now, it's a bit different to real estate or something. They're assets too, but you can make money off of real estate if you rent it out and so on. But apart from that, it's definitely an asset, as much as a famous painting or famous jewels or anything like collectible like that is an asset. Of course, they're assets.
Hobby economist. It's one of
God,
those
I'm gonna
few
need more
things in the
alcohol.
world that affects every single person, and on a practical level, on a day-to-day level. I'm not a financial advisor or anything.
Oh no, but you're advising people on finances. Look at
I'm
that.
just a watch collector. I have some watches that are worth more on the secondary market, and I
Right.
have some that aren't.
By the way, that one in the middle there, that's the Daytona, what I call the TIE Fighter, the ceramic black, beautiful watch, magnificent, which I believe she got at retail through her husband's connections at his authorized dealer. That watch went crazy during the spike, but now it's just back down to kind of crazy. Like, it's still worth 3 times what she paid, even after the apparent crash, right?
But I don't see my watches as investments. When I think of
Good
mine
for
and my
you.
husband's stock portfolio,
That's just you. You don't see your watches as investments. A lot of people do. Not investments necessarily to make money, but certainly somewhere to put money, park money. Absolutely, a lot of people do.
I don't lump my watch value in with that wealth because they're
Okay.
not the same.
Well, if they're not the same for you, Brittany, that's good for you. But for a lot of people, it's the same.
Speculative asset bubble, meaning these watches and their value doesn't align with their price. It's the hype, the speculation that drives.
Neither does their retail value. Their retail value doesn't align with their price. Like if you get it at retail or you get a reduced price, it's still bloated. I mean, is an AP Royal Oak really worth 35,000? You can tell the time on your phone. It's all about what it means to you. It's all about its artistic value. I mean, is a painting the same as a Klimt? A Gustav Klimt worth all that money? You can get a printed version at IKEA for the same money that will occupy the same amount of space on your wall. Is it the same as having the real Klimt? Not really, no.
These prices up and up and up. It's baseless. These watches aren't worth more than they retail for. Stocks
They're
and
also not
shares
worth, they're also not, sorry, I can't. They're also not worth what they retail for. Not worth that either. That's completely bloated prices for these beautiful handmade things or whatever. Like, they're not. They just tell the time. You know, worth is a very dangerous word to be using in this arena here. I don't like it.
Buy the watches you love when you can afford them. And if the time comes that you do sell them and they're worth more when you sell them, that's awesome.
Right.
But it is always a reality that they could be worth less. You
Yes.
never know where the tides are going to blow.
Yes, absolutely.
Maybe Rolex will.
No one has ever implied, including grey market dealers, well, maybe a couple of grey market dealers do this shit, but nobody ever says definitely buy because they're definitely going up in price. It's a speculation. They might think their best guess is that, but there's no guarantee. There never was, there never is, there never will be. You just kind of hope that it's going to hold its value. If it doesn't, at least hopefully you bought a watch that you love, which is what she's saying, so we do agree on that.
Fall out of fashion. I don't know. You don't know where the tides are going to blow. Collect what you love. My second point, this
Hear, hear.
buy the dip mentality only really holds true for the ultra wealthy. As I said before, we are going into a recession. If
You
you're
think?
a normal, like my husband and I, so you can afford luxury watches.
Hold on, normal. Brittany's husband, watch Poppy, great guy, I've met him. He's got like a rose gold Patek, what is it, the Aquanaut. I don't know if that's a normal dude, but okay, let's go on.
But maybe they're really aspirational for you. If you're going to get a watch, maybe you have to save up for some time. And when you do buy it, it's kind of like, Ooh, you feel it. You can feel it. Leave the account. If you're like us,
It can happen,
please do not buy the dip to get a luxury watch a couple $1,000s cheaper. This dip is minuscule. And with the possible tough times we are going into,
At least she said possible this time. Now it's been redacted to possible. Okay, now that's more realistic.
I highly recommend staying liquid. That's what we are going to be doing. That's what I'm personally doing.
Listen, staying liquid is always a good idea. You know, if you're going to be buying a watch with the only money you have in your account, you won't be able to buy bread or eggs or pay the gas bill afterwards. You shouldn't be buying the watch anyway. That's good advice this year, last year, any year.
And you know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe all my fear-mongering amounts to nothing. We go through a really gentle recession.
Well, we're getting somewhere. It is fear-mongering. Well, thanks for admitting that. Thank you.
Then worst case scenario, if you save your money, you'll just have a lot of extra money in your savings. That's okay.
Telling people not to spend their money because then later they'll have money in their savings is stating the obvious.
That's far lower risk than possibly going out and buying a luxury watch that isn't very wise to buy right now. And all this isn't to say don't buy watches right now. I hope that's not how this is coming.
You just told people not to buy, especially Rolex. You just told people not to do that. What do you mean then? Buy a Seiko instead, maybe? Okay.
What I'm trying to say is don't view this dip as rock bottom prices from the secondary watch market, because it isn't.
Really? You're telling you're a fortune teller now. A vicar and a fortune teller. Interesting. I'm going to call you later, Brittany, and ask you for next week's lottery numbers.
If purchasing this watch is going to really eat into your savings, I'd say now is just not the right time.
If you only have a certain amount of savings, you've no business buying a watch. It doesn't matter whether it's the dip or whether it's last year or the year previous. You've no business buying an expensive watch if it's going to put a huge dent in your money and leave you broke. Don't buy the watch. I mean, I think that's kind of clear to everyone, no?
Of course, this is your decision to make. I'm still going to be buying watches myself, but I'm not going to spend any more than retail. And my general rule, especially when we go through hard times, is if it takes more than
This is when I need to order another drink.
10% of my savings, I'm not buying it. So right now I can afford a £3 watch. My third point is, even in the best of times or the worst of times, I would still never recommend spending over retail to purchase a watch.
Okay, this is... Oh my God. These are the worst people in the watch world. The worst. These are worse than the grey market dealers, which I'm not exactly on very good terms with, and I'm not a huge supporter of them either. But this crap, I can't abide. Let's hear.
I don't buy watches over retail, so why would I ever advise buy the dip? That's still above retail.
Fuck. Oh, now I need another drink. I don't buy watches over retail, so why should anyone else, or why would I recommend it to... Oh my God. Let them eat cake, huh? They can't get bread, so let them eat cake. Why don't they just eat cake? Brittany has a husband with an amazing spend history. That's no secret. She said that many times. I'm not revealing anything personal, I don't think. I'm definitely not. But, you know, that's a very comfortable position. Not everybody has that privilege. This guy's been spending a lot of money on watches for a long time. I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound lewd, but she just married into it, okay? She married into that situation. This guy's been buying watches for probably 10 years or something. So of course she gets the call, but we don't have the luxury to say that, do we? And I say we, because I've bought a lot of watches at the AD, sure, at List, and many outside the AT at grey market prices, which should be noted that they're still higher than what I paid for them, even though I paid more. Even now after the crash, they're still higher. So this is getting very rich now, and if you paid more for your watch, you paid grey market prices. Don't let her make you feel bad about that. That's what most of us do. 99 out of 100 have to go to the grey market, because it's very few who have that privilege of getting on the list and getting the call. It's even harder now. Now you have to have a spend history to even get on the list. There are some small exceptions to that, and you'll always hear from those people telling you, but it's, for the most part, I hear from like 30 people a day that they've been waiting years. So it's wait years, or just buy the watch now at a little bit more. It's probably going to hold its value anyway. This is as rich and as cushy a comment, and downright reckless a comment, that I've ever heard.
Retail. Unless you're really into vintage, it's just not advice I would personally give.
Right now I'm thinking, how much booze do I have in the house? Because I'm going to have to edit this video and watch this again.
But I think this is really easy for me to say, coming from a place where I have an amazing relationship with my AD.
You are in a very comfortable position there, where you have an amazing relationship, and it isn't your relationship, it's your husband's.
And if I want to get my name on a waiting list, it's quite easy to get my name on it, and I know it will come.
Yeah, because he picks up the phone and goes, hey, can you get Brittany this such and such a watch? Because I've already dropped $500,000 with you guys in the past 7, 8, 10 years, whatever he's been doing. So they're going to say, yes, Watch Poppy, of course.
You're married into it.
That's the way you want to put it.
Well, I don't have some way to put it. That's the way it is.
And I know, okay, this is just a bone to pick. This could be a stupid thing to say. I know people
Are you sure you want to say it? If it's going to be a stupid thing to say.
I know people keep saying that no one gets these watches. But they do. They do. Who keeps telling you that nobody gets these watches?
Come again?
Again, would you repeat that, please?
Who keeps telling you that nobody gets these watches?
What?
Who keeps telling you?
Everyone, literally everyone. This is the problem. This is why there's a grey market in the first place, because people don't get the watches. I've been buying for 4 years from my AD, and I've got a lot of pieces from them, and they love me. You think I'm getting a call for a Daytona any day soon? It ain't happening.
Where are people hearing this from?
They're hearing it from people like me.
There are over 9,000 Rolex Daytona listings on Chrono24 right now.
That doesn't mean anything. Right now is when everyone's trying to dump their watches. All the flippers, all of those people who are in it for investment, they're all dumping their watches. We know that. They're trying to get rid of them because they're afraid, because people like you are making them afraid.
And 3,000 of them, 1/3 of them, are from the last 2 years. I know this is a
Because of the
touchier one, because
frenzy.
not everyone has the same authorized dealer links that I do.
Right.
But I just wouldn't ever recommend spending over retail. I'm actually...
Well, good for you. I would never recommend anyone should sleep with anything less than a supermodel. How about that? Fucking hell.
We'll see how long it takes, where I go into a new AD, where I have no links, and see how long it takes me to get a Rolex Submariner.
There you go.
So
There you go.
maybe I'll be eating my words very soon.
Watch her get lucky, though. This is just the way this shit happens. Watch her get lucky. Because some people just get lucky. Whatever the AD, they like you, they take a shine to you, or they just happen to have the piece that you're looking for at exactly the right time, and no one else on the list for that. It's a collection of criteria that could, sometimes there is a unicorn situation. We all know about those. We always hear about those, but they're not the general trend. For most of us get laughed out of the AD. Okay, so I don't like any of this crap.
And my fourth point, and this one's purely speculative from me, but I think we might be heading into what we call a sucker's rally. A sucker's rally is a slang term referring to a temporary rise in an asset or the market as a whole, which continues just long enough to attract investment by naive or unsuspecting buyers. To show you this in action, look at this chart. Riveting stuff. I know, but this is from the Great Depression.
funny, man.
So you'll see this line fall and fall, but then there's this sudden spike again. This was the 1930s rally, and this was the biggest suckers rally in history. The 1930s rally.
That's like showing people this chart and talking about this. It's like walking up to people who are about to board an airplane. You know, at the gate, getting on the airplane, walking up to that whole line and saying, look at this plane crash. This is the worst plane crash. Sometimes planes crash. You're just going to make everyone go, shit, should we even get on the plane? You're fear-mongering. Oh, fuck.
He took the market back up to 20% below its peak. People were filled with hopium and were investing, believing the market would only go up and up and up.
By the way, it should be noted that stuff like this is self-manifesting. You know, if you walk into a room and you tell everyone there's a fire, they'll all race out of the room and people will get trampled, even if there isn't a fire. You've kind of manifested the problem just by saying it. So by her putting this fear into people, that will then have a turnaround effect on how many people are watching, 40,000 or whatever. They're going to go, shit, I better not buy. I was going to buy that watch, but I better not buy it now. So now people won't buy, so that will then again lower the market anyway. So it's self-manifesting. It's like...
Does this sound familiar, watch collectors? But then...
No, it's not familiar. No. Oh, Jesus. God, give me strength. This is damaging for people because it's just putting fear. It's not familiar because that what you just showed us was another spike. That hasn't happened here. We just came off a weird spike and now we resumed from where we left off. The prices have not dropped to before where they were last year, not even close to it, and certainly miles away from pre-COVID prices, and miles and miles and miles away from actually getting down to retail, especially on Rolex. So it isn't familiar. They are two different situations. I don't even want to press spacebar right now.
In 30, it crashed again, going down 89% from the 1929 high. When it comes to the market, history often repeats itself. Now, as I said before, these are just the markets.
But this is such doom and gloom. It's like, you know, your plane may not crash, but it might too. Like, fuck's sake. You're not helping. If anything, you're not helping, Brittany. You're not helping. Like, even if it does go down, like, putting fear into people is only going to exacerbate the problem.
And the stock market and the watch market are not the same. But there are some transferable principles here. I remember videos not so long ago telling you to just buy that AP Royal Oak or that Daytona at secondary because it's only going to go up and up and up.
No, people didn't say it's only going to go up and up and up. Some people said it might go up and up and up, but at very worst, you'll probably get your money back or it'll hold its value. I was one of those AP buyers. I spent 50 on a Royal Oak chrono. It went to 100 during the spike. That's obscene. That should have never happened. The spike was crazy. There's no sense, makes no sense at all. But now that it's come off of that spike, it's still at 75. But when I bought it at 50, it wasn't because I thought it was going to go to 75 or 70 or even 55. I just knew that was the market price. That's what that watch was going for at the time. That was the value of it. And as it turns out, here we are nearly a year later, and it's still up there and above.
People are filled with hopium, thinking the bull market will never end, but it will. I would exercise caution.
It will. There she goes again with her predictions of the future. She has a crystal ball. She keeps saying she doesn't have a crystal ball, but then she keeps saying she has a crystal ball.
As we maybe see watch prices starting to creep up again. Maybe it won't happen, maybe it will, but you might just be looking at a sucker's rally.
You just might. You might get out. Maybe your plane will land fine, but you might just be getting onto that doomed airplane. Dun, dun, dun.
I don't want that for you in your life. But I can't say this enough. I'm just speculating.
No, you're not just speculating. You're telling people not to buy Rolex. And you're putting the fear of God in them. I wonder where you learned that, Brittany. I wonder where you learned that. The eyes of God are watching. And he will come with wound as red to damn the quick and the dead, right? Oh,
I am not
God.
a financial expert. I don't have a crystal ball and know what's going to happen in a few months.
Okay, so then stop looking through your crystal ball.
And your hard-earned money is yours to do what you want with it. I know this is
Fine.
kind of a weird video for a watch channel to put out, and I hope it doesn't really...
No, it's not, because watch markets and this whole discussion is part of the watch hobby. It's only one part of it. Some would say it's a small part, some would argue it's a very big part, but it's part of it. So it's not an odd thing to talk about, and people will certainly click on your video to see what you have to say about it, Britt.
And I hope it doesn't read as, never buy a watch again, we're going into doom and gloom, you're gonna have no money.
That's pretty much exactly what you said. God. That's exactly what you said. We're heading into doom and gloom. Look at what happened in 1930.
These things go down! These things go down, they go... It's too big! It's too big!
Honestly, buy watches. They bring life and joy. They're fantastic.
They bring life and joy. You're not bringing life and joy.
But making expensive luxury purchases in a bull market hits very differently than in a bear market. Before we finish this video, let's just look at another chart. This is the Great Recession of 2008.
Let's just look at another terrifying chart. Just in case you're not shaking in your boots enough already, let's just look at another plane that crashed in history.
Recession of 2008. Shit got bad, if you remember. It was scary times, especially if you stay zoomed in. But then we zoom out. This is what I mean when I say it's not about timing the market, it's about time in the market. Things always recover. But I'd never recommend buying watches as financial investments.
Nobody does. Very few people do. And the people you're speaking to, Brittany, aren't. You're not talking to the flippers. You're talking to the general public. That's your audience. Watch enthusiasts. People wondering should they buy a watch soon. None of them are now, of course.
If you want to buy low and sell high, get into the stock market. If you want great watches, buy what you love. And I would never recommend spending over retail.
Oh my God, Ash, she said it again. Oh my God. I can't.
No, I can't. No, no.
Oh. Where's Lenny when you need him?
I don't like making these. I don't want to become this person. And don't forget to feed the YouTube algorithm gods. Give this video a like, comment,
of course she's asking for that.
To my channel.
Of course she's asking for that. Speaking of patterns and predictions, I can see a pattern right in front of my eyes. A few weeks back, Brittany made a video called Rolex is in trouble, as if Rolex were ever in trouble. But of course she got shitloads of clicks, and that was her biggest video so far. She got over 100,000 views. We're all delighted for that. That's great. But now she's making another one with the graph going down. We're seeing a pattern here, Britt, and you're doing it at, honestly, it's not funny because you're doing it at the expense of other people. You're costing other people money. You know, people who got into their watch, I'll be fine, I'll be perfectly dandy. But a lot of people out there have their watch and they're hanging on to their investment, and these kind of videos aren't helping.
Until next time.
I just delivered all this terrible doom and gloom, scared the shit out of everyone, told you we're all going into terrible times, and I also made you feel bad about paying over retail on your watches. But kiss, kiss, kiss. See you next time. It's like she's delivering, you know, a dagger on a silver platter, you know. Thanks very much, but what am I going to do with that dagger? You want me to just stick it in my balls?
I'm sorry I was such a saint before, and I'm such a prick now.
Listen, guys, do whatever you want with your own money. Absolutely. Buy the watches you love. I mean, that was always the advice of everyone, I believe. Even some of the grey market dealers. Just get what you like. Don't buy a watch hoping or depending on that watch raising in value and so on and making a quick buck. I mean, that's just the flippers. That's what those guys do. Voices like this will have an effect. Fear is a huge thing in the markets. It's pretty much what drives the markets. Once anyone gets wind that maybe something is going to happen on the market, everybody starts selling. It's all fear based. Like she brought up the 2008 crash there. That was all based on fear. They all started dumping the stuff because they started thinking, shit, things are getting too crazy. And then word spread like mad and everybody just started selling. And what did that create? That created the crash. It was a self-manifesting thing.
Our standards have to be higher than anyone else's because we are the standard for everybody else.
I feel we have a responsibility as watch YouTubers. A lot of you want to know what we think. It's undeniable. I get questions every single day. What do you think is going to happen? Should I buy now? Should I hold off? Etc, etc. Seeing a video like this, everyone is going to hold off, which will then in turn affect everything. She'll actually help manifest the crash happen. Don't let her make you feel bad about paying over retail. That's most of us. That's 99 out of 100. The grey market is there for a very, very good reason. Whether they ask too much, in your opinion, that's a whole other discussion. But it's not just there as a joke. You can't just walk into an AD and get one of these watches. For most of us, we'll just get laughed out of the AD. I'm sorry, Brittany, I love you to bits. I hope we remain friends, but that shit is fucking toxic. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you in the next one. Oh, damn it. Now, who needs a drink?
I'm finished.